And we live. Hey, y'all know how we do this thing. Every Sunday from 6 to 8, we bring you to Northwest Austin Council. You know what I mean? It's just West Side people talking West Side things. Whole lot of issues on the West Side right now. You know what I mean? We like 49 shows in. We're a couple shows away from actually being 1 year in with this thing, man. And that's always lovely because that's just a symbol of consistency, which we've been trying to bring to y'all since day one. Because, of course, we've changed up a couple things. One of the things that we actually instituted recently was the muted and booted rule. For those that don't know, we had a little incident, man, where people jumped on and they had a conversation between themselves that was not in the light of what we like to bring to the community. So listen, man, the muted or booted rule is such as this. If you get on, you can have an opinion. But if you're talking to somebody all crazy, disrespectful, like call them out their name, we got to mute you. That's the first time. And if you threat violence, we got to boot you off the first time, right? It get real consecutive up here because people just don't like to stop. So listen, as long as y'all can come on and have honest conversation that doesn't how you say trample on another form of fashion, then we all good. Otherwise, we gotta mute you or we gotta boot you. Listen, there's various ways that you can interact with our show. We got the Facebook, the YouTube, or the Zoom. If you're on that Facebook or that YouTube, make sure you show us just like us if you like it, like us. You feel me? Share if you paying attention to this content because this thing is what we do on a weekly basis and it's really some real stuff we up here talking about. And I'm sure that y'all can get something out of it. So share with somebody else. You feel me? Comment because if you comment, we can see directly. And we can actually add it into the show, I should say, directly into the show so that you can be a part of it. If you don't want to be seen, you can always be heard. Your opinion matters. So go ahead and drop it in the comments for us. And if nothing else, subscribe so that you could continue to be on point with us as we bring you to Northwest Austin Council every Sunday. So today we got a guest, you know what I mean? We got Shakea Houston, social worker out of Austin, doing her thing. And we're just going to have honest conversation like we typically do. I'm going to let her introduce herself in a second, you know what I mean? Because as I always do, I shoot it over to Steve and I always ask him what's going on.
All right. That's what the going ons and the going ons have already gone on. One of the biggest things has been this last week's elections. We had some battles out there. Congressman Davis pulled through with a win. I want to give a shout out. Speaking of Congressman Davis, he's coming in as a
Oh man, Congressman got right here. Yeah,
his win.
No.
Okay. And I want to give a shout out to now Judge Maria by Barlow. Was it first?
Yeah. What is that? First circuit, I believe.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And I'm going to give a shout out to who else? Aileen Bandari. She won in the 7th sub-circuit, wasn't it? 11. I'm sorry. Aileen Bandari. She won in 11. And who else did we have on the slate that we just won? You got anybody else you could think of, DeAndre? Who else did we have? Some of the judges.
Listen, it was a different race than I anticipated. I'll say that. I don't think there was a whole lot of winning out of people we thought was going to win. So I think those three are enough.
Those three, right?
To be completely honest with you. For real.
Congressman and 2 judges.
Yeah.
Other than that, we got 4th of July weekend. Everybody's trying to, I guess, be out and about on 4th of July weekend. And that being said,
yeah, all right, let's do
it.
Okay, so I want you to put your phone on. Are you want to?
Congressman just came in.
You want to use the notes or?
It didn't matter.
You got 2 phones?
Yeah,
let me see this one. Let me see. I'm gonna set up so that we're gonna put you here. Okay. Now let me get. Okay, you are already good to go. Here, we're gonna get you right here, Congressman.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, no, because we're gonna set her up here.
Yeah, we got her
We didn't know you were gonna come so early, man.
Twice.
Yeah.
Twice. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I've taken trade missions to
Really?
the whole Emirates.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't know you was gonna come so early. You know, you've been working. Hey, y'all, it looked like that work paid off.
I ain't did nothing but sit around the house while I went to dinner.
Okay.
There you go.
Took my wife out to dinner. We had a very pleasant, long dinner, couple hours, sitting and chatting and eating.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool.
There you go.
That was pretty good. Pretty good.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
Yes, indeed. Okay. Yeah. So you using your camera?
On my other phone, yeah.
Oh man, you got a charger?
It's there.
Nah.
What
What you got?
Is it iPhone?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a charger.
You got charge, bro?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Where's that bag? All right. It's actually.
You know what? You got the orientation. Can you change the?
Yes.
Is it?
There you
go.
Yeah.
Could use mine. All right, all right. So, congratulations, Congressman,
Yes.
on your.
I am delighted.
What win is this one for you?
Too many.
I first got elected to Congress in 1996. I took office in 1997. But you know, the more I learn about this business and the more I understand it, it reinforces how those people actually know about it.
That's a fact.
And you know, we kind of assume that people really know, but very few people actually do. And it's difficult for them to evaluate. It's hard to evaluate something that you don't know much about. And so to be able to evaluate it accurately,
Right.
and understand it and understand your best interests, and then always know that you're acting. For example, we talk a lot about voting rights protection,
Facts.
and then people didn't vote.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying we've had
That's what I'm saying.
enormous discussion
Right.
Mm-hmm.
about voting rights.
Mm-hmm.
How important it is.
Mm-hmm.
And people in a place like Illinois, especially Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
Third largest metropolitan city in the world.
And so
in the
you
U.S.
consider
Pardon me.
the fact that 20% of the people voted, 80% who were registered to vote did not vote.
And we had good weather.
And so
Great weather.
the weather was.
The
The legislature is trying to decide whether or not they made a mistake in changing the primary election from March to June. And I felt so good that they had changed it.
I thought that was
Because people complained
that was too
having
cold.
to vote in the cold,
Mm-hmm.
having to vote in the rain, coming out of the house to
Mhm.
vote. And so here we had a perfect
Optimal.
day.
Optimal
Couldn't have
conditions.
been more perfect.
Yeah.
And a vast majority of the people did not vote. And all the stuff we watch on television every day. I just left home watching the January 6th
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And in spite of all that, people still did not vote. Just did not vote.
Now I'm of the mindset, and I said this, and I don't know if this to be true, but I said, what if they look at it and says, because one of the things that I was hearing that there weren't enough election judges. So some places,
Wasn't enough elected. That's true.
and we're moving to a space where that is a realistic possibility.
And they were paying people $200 and $200 and some dollars to be an election judge.
Mm.
Just go sit at the polling place
And just hand out the
check
stuff.
people's names
Yeah,
out
yeah.
when they come in. And so you just sit there and do that, and chat, talk.
Now,
And they
so
couldn't get enough.
So here's my thought though. What if we get to a space where they decide, well, we don't have enough people that's going to man these polls, and there aren't enough people coming out at these polls anyway, so they shouldn't be open. And they decide to do that in the Black community. Then what?
Then the gains that you think you have made and you have made, then I often talk about the Watusi of decision making. 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, and you're in the same place. But I heard people on major talk apparatuses essentially saying the same thing, but they weren't using the term Watusi because they didn't know as much about that. But I'm saying the great analysts of the day, the great talk show hosts, the great whatever they are, who essentially are saying the same thing. And many of them are not really informed.
Mm.
They don't project out the realities of truth and what is going on.
Yeah, media is sensationalized now.
Yeah.
Everybody looking for something to get a conversation going rather than just really telling the truth. If we gonna be
King
honest.
said something I always relish, and that is that truth on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. But yet that scaffold sways the future, and behind the unknown standeth God, keeping watch over his own. And that truth crushed to the earth will rise again. Now he was not the originator.
Right.
James Russell Lowell said a whole lot about it in terms of a philosophical understanding of things. But if we don't follow what we say, then what's the point in saying it? I think there were people who stood around the polling places having fun, but still didn't vote. I'm saying they were just around the schools or wherever,
Right.
standing out talking to their friends. But at the end of the day, had not voted. Had not voted.
But all right, and I want to make sure that we give Shakea a proper introduction. So I'm gonna ask one more question. What does that mean for us, though?
It means we have to change, and it means that don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. You see, there are a lot of people who talk about the newness of things and what young people think.
Yeah, come on. I'm one of them.
But young people have been thinking ever since they've been young people.
No, that's a fact, though.
That's a fact. Jesus was a young person.
That's a fact.
And was thinking then. And so the divisiveness that's created in our community by individuals talking about the difference between ages. I think the same thing my dad and them taught me. That's what I think. I think the same stuff that the people taught when I went to Sunday school. That's what I think. And so allowing the baby to go, and I understand throwing out some of the traditional stuff and some of the old traditions.
Yeah.
But you gotta try to keep that baby in when you dishing the bathwater out.
Right.
When you're getting rid of those traditions that didn't make sense and don't work and weren't good. But the ones that were, honor thy mother and thy father, that the days
respect
long on the earth. You better get back to doing that.
Yeah.
You better get back to believing that parenting makes sense in that young people are expected to love and respect your mama and daddy and grandmama and granddaddy and what they were.
Absolutely.
As
Absolutely.
opposed to just saying this is the new age.
Right. This is how we do it. And then y'all don't, whatever came before don't matter. It's a great segue over to Shakea Houston. Now, Shakea, I met her over at when the Austin Fresh Market was up. You know, I went in there and I saw her. I saw Social Work Sunday Social Work Tea. That is her podcast. I hope it's a podcast or a live show. How you term it?
It's a live show podcast.
Live show podcast.
Yeah.
And what caught my attention was number one, big social work, and my lady's a social worker, so I had to go over and see what we was doing with that. And when I did, I saw she also had these teas that I purchased. Now I haven't tried them myself yet, and but my lady did. She said they're wonderful. So number one, we got to plug that Social Work Sunday Tea. You know, if you're available for that, number one, you got to jump on and catch all the social work goodness that's being brought to you on Sundays, 4 p.m.
Yes.
4 p.m.
Yes.
And beyond that, you got to try some of the tea.
Yes.
But beyond that, I got to go ahead and let Shakea introduce herself so y'all can know where she's coming from. So, Shakea, take it away.
Okay. Hello, my name is Shakea Houston. I'm the founder and CEO of Social Work Sunday Tea, mental health podcast, and herbal tea collection. I've been doing this for 2 years now. June 27th made 2 years doing the podcast and with the herbal tea collection. It's all geared towards the mental and then the physical health of mental health. I am a graduate of Tennessee State University in Nashville, Tennessee.
TSI?
Yes, yeah.
I
was
am.
just
Oh, yeah.
there, too,
Historically black.
About a month ago.
You was?
But I
Okay.
was at Fifth.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, down the street.
I
Yeah.
gave the convocation address for the honors program
Okay.
at Fifth
Okay.
about a month ago.
Okay. Yes. That's our sister school, right down the street from TSU. It was an honor. It was a privilege to be amongst, being at a HBCU, being from the west side of Chicago, born and raised, right on Cicero and Gladys. Yeah, I'm right there, Yeah, my mom, my grandfather, they came from Denmark, South Carolina, and they moved up from, the Great Migration. They moved up to the west side, and he bought a building, and my mom been there since '68. So never move in, none of that. So I was just blessed. My parents, they really raised me, being on the west side. Like if you can live in Chicago, you can live anywhere in the world. So I was just being blessed, and I went to school for that, and I ended up going back to school to get my master's in psychology, and then I landed my first job in long-term care on Jackson and Laramie, the Columbus Manor, the psychiatric facility, and I was doing that. I was there for 4 years, and I work in mental health. I've been working in mental health for 8 years now. I love people. I love people with psychiatric disabilities, disorders. I didn't really know what my niche was. I wanted to be a police officer. And I was like, nah. I had a baby. I had my daughter. She's 14 now. Her name's Chelsea. Hey, Chelsea. And after I had her, I was like, no, I don't think I want to do that. So so I ended up landing a job at Columbus Manor with the psych patients, the psychiatric population, and no turning back from there. Just dealing with people with psychosis, personality disorder, schizophrenia, bipolar, major depressive disorder, people dealing with suicidal ideations, people ranging from 17 to 99.
Wow.
They have these disorders, and God put me in that position to be able to serve the people. And at the end of the day, it's for the people, it's for the culture. And I try to
culture.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why I formulated, Social Work Sunday Tea. It's a mental health podcast talking about different topics, different subjects, especially in the Black community. We don't normalize mental health. Like that's the big boom. When COVID hit, kind of like, you really didn't really find out, I guess within families, you really didn't know, like, dang, they like that. You know, you just different behaviors, different things that they did. You know, you just now really discovering because you had to sit with your right.
You
exactly.
had time to sit there.
You had time to sit there and think,
notice
and notice some stuff. You know, and I know some stuff about myself. I was like, "Ooh, I don't like it. Let me change this." So, I started the podcast, and it's been going. I've been blessed. I've been meeting psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors, mental health, social workers. And I get on there and I ask them. I go on people inbox on Instagram and Facebook, like, "Hey, you want to talk about this subject? You want to talk about this subject?" And you know, it gives the people the ability to think about certain things, and or you know, you look at behavior. Oh, that's what that is. You know, you're dealing with depression. Oh, those are the signs. Those are the symptoms of that. So it's pretty much you know, making people aware, and also me being a vessel to serve the people, so they can understand, like, you're not by yourself. And you know, come to the conclusion, everybody got something going on with them, mentally, physically. You got something. So you know, you might as well cultivate.
Even if it's just stress.
Absolutely, and how we can maintain that stress. How can we cope with that stress? So that's why I created Social Work Sunday Tea, and you know, I just like I said, I love the people. I love the culture of it, and normalizing mental health every, you know, one podcast at a time. So yeah, I think that's what God wanted me to do, and I'm thriving in it. Now I'm a social worker at Berkeley Nursing and Rehab, and that's the geriatric psych population. Schizophrenia, hallucinations, all that. I deal with all of that, and it's kind of like the norm for me. But at the same time, I want people to get normalized as well, like enter into my world. This is what I do on a day-to-day basis. You know, with counseling, you know, with you know, the assessments and things like that. And I also do part-time as a therapist and also marketing director for Lotus Hill and it's in High Park. So I'm a therapist as well, along with that. So
okay, so part-time therapist as well.
Yeah, I'm
What's your focus with the
cognitive behavior?
Oh, cognitive behavior. Okay.
Let me ask you. Why? I mean, you grew up actually right down the street from my office for about 15 years. Actually, 215 South Central was where we started and really pushed what's called the independent political movement in Chicago. It was on the west side. Art Turner's office was there. My office was there. Jesse Madison, who lived in the 4700 block on Monroe, and was our first person we elected to be a state representative in the area. And Columbus Manor, I used to go there on Sunday afternoons and sing with people. We had sing with the clients and the nursing homes. Why do you think nursing homes have such bad reputations and people get, never does a day go by that somebody don't call me complaining about nursing homes and nursing home care, and they've got a relative there that's not getting what they need, and I know another place they could go and find good care. Why do you think nursing homes are in such bad shape and have such bad reputation?
And I'm that person that try to change the narrative of it. However, I'm only standing on my two feet. I think it's because of who owns it. And if I want to be honest, majority of I'm just gonna be honest. The majority of the people that owns the nursing home, they're Jews, and you know they run the nursing homes. Like every nursing home that I came encounter with, they run it, and also the lack of staff. People don't have compassion anymore. People are burnt out. The lack of care. You have these nurses. You got good nurses, and then you have nurses that are, they're doing it for a paycheck. They don't really have the heart for the people. And I see that a lot, even in where I am. You have to kind of like retrain the mind. I think because of this stigma on nursing homes, um, you know, the lack of compassion. That's what I think, and they really a lot of people really don't care. I'm just gonna be honest. A lot of people don't care, and a lot of people they just want to get a check.
Yeah.
It's a difference between I'm in there maybe 12 hours out the day because I want to be there and I want to be I'm accountable for these people. Versus somebody, oh well, it's another nursing home, it's another, whatever. I think the compassion, if I answer it, compassion, the lack of staff, the lack of awareness around nursing homes, and you just think, yo, you gonna put my mom in a nursing home, you're gonna kill her, and sometimes that's what that is, and sometimes that's not what that is.
Let me ask, do you think that maybe we don't pay enough? I'm saying
That's where I was gonna go.
living in a nursing home is very expensive.
Very.
And of course, if we didn't have Medicare
Listen,
and Medicaid, and especially Medicaid when it comes to nursing homes, the activity would have to occur at home. I'm saying people would have to take care of their relatives at home. And so I take the position that you can measure how great a society is by how well it treats its old people, how well it treats its young people, and how well it treats those who cannot
do it for themselves.
Absolutely.
And it seems to me that nursing care, and there are great debates going on, there really are, in terms of that we may be spending too much money on end of life care. And that money should be shifted to the early phases of life. And I know some people never, be engaged in those kind of discussions that, and of course I take the end that we're not spending enough money on nursing home care.
I like what you said a few weeks ago, though, Congressman, or about the churches being the ones that actually provide for the nursing care of the individuals that utilize their facilities. Some of these churches we know have been in existence for years, and they have an opportunity, if they so chose, to create these opportunities for their seniors.
But so they don't have any money. I'm saying the churches are just the people. And it seems to me many of the churches that people have accused of being not what they want them to be, many of the pastors do a whole lot to take care of the expenses and so forth of operating their churches.
True.
The parishioners don't have a great deal of money.
True.
It's like people think I have contributed more money to my being in office than anybody I know.
As you should.
No, that's not what most people think. You see, most people think that there's somebody else financing whatever.
So you getting that corporate PAC money
going on.
That's what they say. That's what they say. They say you get that big corporate PAC money.
And you know that this election just cost probably, I would say probably a couple $1 million to run. I'm saying we've got to be as knowledgeable about these things in a real sense to kind of know and make the decision based upon the knowledge. For example, if we don't keep putting money into Medicare
Yeah.
and Medicaid,
Yeah.
what are we going to do? We're going to push these people back to their relatives
Yeah.
at home.
Yep.
And they're going to be in a nursing home.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
And they may not be equipped to do that.
No.
And they're not equipped.
They not.
Yeah.
They not. And a lot of them that you get home health. Now, if you have Medicare, that's like the golden ticket, like Willy Wonka. You get everything. You get the bells and the whistles. But when you have Medicaid, you don't get as much as you should. You can't get as much as like home health services, like PT, OT, a wheelchair, a hospital bed. You don't get those. You get those things, but it's going to be out of pocket cost. But when you have Medicare, you can get anything up until 5 years. Now, if you already had a hospital bed, you got to wait 5 years, then you get you another one. But these are the things like
that you qualify.
Yes, absolutely. But some people don't qualify because a lot of people have public aid. And so it kind of like, it does push them back into the homes of loved ones. They have to work. You can't pay for a private caregiver. That's expensive.
Oh, no question.
So we have these long-term care facilities to help and to delegate. But at the same time, look at the people that you're hiring. Like if I ran a nursing home, it would be totally different. I have a friend, she's a nursing home administrator. And I'm like, they was like, you should be an administrator. Just sit for the test and do it. And it's on my mind, but I want to change the narrative of quality of care. At the end of the day, these people have worked all their lives and they get pension, they get a check, and you get all the money to the nursing home. And you only get $30.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's what I was gonna ask. Like, I got a few questions going now because one, I was gonna ask the congressman, like, you give a lot of money to the medical district, and I don't know if that's your position as a federal agent, so to speak, to be able to help fund those type of things. But is it?
We do. Matter of fact, my district in the last 10 years or so has gotten $66 billion from the federal government for health care. $66 billion
with a B
dollars for health care. And still, that's not enough. I'm saying to take care. That's why I'm a supporter of what we call Medicare
for all.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and I'm saying, I know it's expensive. I know it costs a lot. But I think for adequate health care, a lot is not too much to pay. And that's one of the things, of course, that we do is have to decide how much money we are going to spend for these things. And where is the money going to come from?
As always.
To do it. So I have a great affinity for nursing homes. And for example, we started the nursing home at Laramie and Jackson. The community did. We built it.
Yeah.
Jackson Square Nursing Home.
That's
right. That's what's
when
up.
I was on the board of Bethel the Christian Action Ministry, some of which evolved into Bethel New Life and some into other things. But we built that nursing home.
Yeah.
We built it. And a woman named Bertha Zaguri was the first person that we also sent to school to run it and manage it. The organization kind of ended up splitting, and then the nursing home got in kind of bad shape when it was so hot one summer, and 3 people died from the heat back when Harold Washington was mayor. As a matter of fact, but it was closed for a bit. And
where was it located?
Laramie and Jackson.
Oh yeah, Jackson.
Jackson Square.
What a church at right now?
Church is on the other side of the street.
Yeah. Okay, that's the spot that's right there right now. Then.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
we across the street.
Okay.
Reverend Shelvin Hall and I set up something called a Blue Ribbon Commission, and ultimately convinced Harold Washington, who was mayor, to reopen the nursing home. And that's how it got reopened, and now has been in business from then until now. Yeah.
Well, I thought you said something about CAM.
Well, CAM Christian Action Ministry was a lead organization in Austin that formed a group of churches, came together, the Methodist churches, the Baptist churches, the Catholic churches, the Lutheran churches, and it became the biggest social service agency in the Austin community for several years.
Someone, really quick questions. Barbara Hopkins had a question. She said something. Wait, hold on. Let me find it. It was in regards to COVID. She said, there's another question. She had two questions. we went on. Hold on a second. How did she deal with the? Barbara, you should be able to come on and speak this. Okay. Go ahead.
I was asking, how did you deal with the people during COVID? The young lady that's for mental health deal with COVID, all patients that could not see loved ones that was isolated. How did you deal with that? Because they felt like they were abandoned at the time. So how did you deal with that? Why did when I asked them for health care for 25 years, why are they pushing the supplementary insurance like Medicare, Gold, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Medicare? That eats up their Medicare benefit, which makes it harder for them to get in a nursing home and have limited resources when they have those. My mom was in a nursing home and I had to get her off that Gold in order for her to get her service. It's very hard when you, but the government is pushing it. Everybody knows Gold and all the Medicare supplementary. Why are they pushing those when they make it harder?
Medicare costs too much money.
Those might be questions.
Okay, well, I can for the nursing home. I survived COVID. Like never got it. It was rough. It was rough. My mental capacity was at an all time high. Like I didn't know if I was going or coming. Some of the residents, watching them die, that wasn't a good feeling. Especially you've been taking care of them for so long. I was pretty much the staff. We were the only family that they had. And so I was working over 12 hours, and sometimes I, stayed. Sometimes, went home, took a shower, rested a little bit, went right back. A lot of PPE gear, a lot of, I didn't wear my dress clothes, what I normally would wear, just scrubs. They did feel isolated. They did feel abandoned. We had window visits. I always did video call, like Zoom calls.
Yeah.
I call on my phone, like we in here, they got COVID. I'm all wrapped up like a mummy, and they want to see their loved ones. And I did that. Holding people's hands. I did all of that, and it took I had to go to therapy myself, to deal with that and to be able to process all of that, because like one day it's like I went in my office and closed the door, just boo-hoo cried, because I didn't know, I just didn't know. Okay, like you got me here for a reason, God. Like where you at? That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And just dealing with them, psychologically dealing with the residents and the patients, and making sure they all right, just giving them hope. Like, okay, we're gonna make it through here. Here go your cousin. Let's call everybody. That's everybody that's on the face sheet. Let them, see you and hear your voice, things like that. So I mean, it was a struggle. It was a struggle bus for me. But thank God is this too shall
We're on the
pass.
other side, yeah.
Yeah, we're on the other side, but a lot of them they didn't survive. A lot of them didn't survive. A lot of them did. And then you have those other disorders that came along with the COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a lot of cognitive issues as far as, memory loss, things like that. And so kind of like get a program of like, okay, every morning is July 3rd, 2022. Have to, as far as reminding them of what today is, what season it is, things like that, a mental health assessment. So just to keep their spirits up, and I was in the trenches. I was in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Congressman, the question was about the Humana goals and everything, and how come the government pushes other forms of insurance as opposed to Medicare?
Well, I think first of all, you have to recognize that the government is not a unified entity. I mean, you can't put everybody involved with government as in agreement, whatever it is that they do.
Facts.
There are some members of the government who don't want to spend any of this money. There are some members of the government who says that government is doing too much for people already.
Mm-hmm.
They don't believe that government should be doing all the stuff that government does now. They just don't believe it. I mean, they believe something different.
Right.
They believe that government has overstepped its purpose. That the main purpose of government, they believe, is to be the policeman for society. That is to set up rules and regulations. Say what you can do and what you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
They don't believe that government was to provide all these benefits for people. They don't believe that government is supposed to help you do this, but just set up the apparatus in terms of how it could be done. So many Republicans, every time we meet about spending money, they want
To spend your money, not my money.
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to put any more money into play. They want to take money out of play.
Mm-hmm.
They want the government to leave them alone. Don't take my money. Don't charge me any more taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't charge my business any more taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you can do it if you don't give all this money to all these poor people, talking about what they need. Make them go out and work. Make them go out and have a bank account. Make them take care of their senior citizens when they get old. Make them have the money and the resources to do that themselves.
Now, can you make them though?
If you went to college and you got or if you inherited a business, you inherited some money.
I mean, if you get a trade, I'm just listen.
Yeah. I'm saying many of them look at things differently. They say that the government is doing too much. Too much. Do it yourself. Make sure your children go to school when they're growing up. Make sure they go and get themselves a master's degree in psychology and get themselves a management degree. That there were schools. Why did they drop out? Make sure they stay in. That's their position.
Yeah.
And so getting enough agreement to do these things, I mean, and it's like people last Tuesday didn't vote. Now, if they don't vote in November, woe be unto us.
I mean, well, as the prognosticators are indicating, the Republicans are going to slaughter the Democrats. And if that is the case, then everything that you're saying right now will be what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And it's going to be what it's going to be.
Fighting to keep from cutting this stuff will be the next order of business. So we've got to make sure that between now and November, that we rev up people to vote.
Yeah.
I don't care what else they saying. I don't care how bad they say that their elected people are. But you better try to
vote somebody, right? Go. Yeah. I hear that.
They can say whatever, but it's gonna be weeping and wailing and
National
gnashing
TV. Listen, so okay. Speaking of cuts, government and things like that. A few years ago, we had a mayor that cut a lot of mental health resources, right? And also at that same time span, we had a governor who was also blocking resources that was essential towards mental health, social work, and all of the like. How did that affect the job that you were doing at that time?
Tremendously, because then you got a lot of people that they're not receiving services. A lot of them homeless. A lot of them are homeless. And you go up to the hospitals and do the mental health assessment. Okay, all right, you got this. Psych diagnosis. Then they send them to the long-term care, the nursing homes, because they shut down a lot of the you got River Edge, you got Hartgrove, you got Madden, you got those places, but they're over. They at capacity. And so
looking for workers now too.
Listen, yes,
and looking for workers.
Yes, but the population of people that they're getting, they're either homeless or they do have a diagnosis, but they don't want to stay in the treatment programs. But it does affect it. It affected us,
and it is hard work. Let me tell you, working with behavior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Difficulties that people have. I don't know any work that is more challenging.
Yeah.
I quit it. I used to do it too. I used to have my own counseling business. Yeah, I had my own couch and so forth. I mean, I've been in that business a long time. I was a school counselor when I worked for the Board of Education. I was a counselor. And dealing with individuals with behavior issues, they are tough.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
it is.
It is.
I just.
Yeah, it is.
I used to have clients that would call me all the time of night, 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning. I got to talk to you,
man.
I just talked. We talked earlier today. Yeah, but let me tell you. These things or whatever. And so, it's tough. And people got to really know something.
Yeah. You can't play around with that. You can't play around. You got to take your studies very seriously. I got a clinical, one of my colleagues is a clinical psychologist. We're in the same program. So her basis, her foundation is much different than my own. And she's teaching now. And I love when we have our conversations about her teaching, because she's like, look, I'm trying to get these people to understand you're taking life into your hand. You don't understand how a misdiagnosis or not giving proper treatment could really lead to somebody doing something to themselves or others that you could have prevented. And so she's like, listen, when I give them case studies or mock examination, whatever it is, they have to do it to the T. And I'm going to grade them the right way. I'm not going to be one of these teachers that just pass them along just to be passing them along. So I really appreciate it. And I tell her, like, I love to hear it, because that means you really are making sure that this next generation of therapists or social workers or whatever else they're going to go on to become are going to be raised in the right mode of understanding when it comes to these people.
And accountability. It gives them accountability.
Yeah.
And I do more listening than talking. I do more listening than talking. And I was like, oh, okay. And sometimes when you talk, the information that you was looking for is gonna come out anyway.
Facts.
So it's like, okay, so
Facts.
I didn't even think about it that way. I was like, well, what do you think? I always bring it back to them. What do you think? And what do you think a solution? Let's do a care plan. So like in long-term care, we do care plans, as far as on the diagnosis, on their behavior. And I ask them, well, what interventions do you think you should have? Or what you should incorporate? I always give them that option, that choice. And that makes them more comfortable and build that rapport with them. A lot of people, they don't take their medication. You know what I do? I get some aspirin. And I act like I'm like, listen, I take medicine too. It's like it's more psychological than anything.
It is, absolutely.
And I gotta make sure they take their medication. So I get some asthma. I'm like, hey, come on. You know, and I get like them. So if they outright and they have behaviors, I'm doing the same thing. And it's like, what's wrong with you? I'm just doing what you're doing.
And we mirroring.
Exactly.
Mirroring.
And so they're like, well, I guess I'm gonna take my medicine. I'm like, yeah, come on. So I get the aspirin. And I take it, and they get their medication, and they take it. So I'm like, it's a win-win situation. You got to meet people where they at.
Understood.
Right? Yeah. At the end of the day, if you don't meet people where they at, they're going to be all over the place. So my goal, you know, my focus, I always listen. When I was growing up, I didn't listen. Now I am listening.
Yeah.
It always comes full circle. So, I mean, that's how I get the ability to interact and build that rapport and also set boundaries. Like, hey, you can't be calling me at 3, 4 in the morning. You don't need nothing. You don't need nothing. I'm asleep. You know, I like, we can take care of this in the morning, but they respect me. And I'm really, really stern. I'm sweet and, you know, hey, but when I get down to the nitty gritty, especially dealing with psych, it's like, not saying I'm the warden, but I am the warden. You know what I'm saying? They're like, okay, I'm going to get Miss Houston. They're like, nah. I'm like, listen, it's A or B.
Yeah,
you know,
and
it's out and over. Even the biggest of the biggest men, they be like, okay, Miss Houston. And I'm like, listen, we not doing that. I chop down trees. So I get where they are. They're like, okay, all right. But no, like just dealing with that population, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand, and I really have a heart.
Somebody, Felicia said that's where peer support specialists come in.
Yeah. That's kind of like the support as far as like with the, you know, as far as like when you have behavioral health, you have the social workers, you have the psychologists, you have the psychiatrists, then you got the peer specialists. They help support what they already, the core already done. Like when you have the diagnosis, when you have the treatment plans in, you have the care plans in, and you have these people that help support what already been put in place. So yeah.
Anybody else on the Zoom want to chime in? Any questions or anything? Well, I got another question. I want to talk about. I was just in a meeting Friday where a person brought up the opioid drug use, and here on the West Side, there was about I can't think of the exact numbers. Let's just say it was roughly about 11,000 overdoses or so deaths related to opioids last year. 4,000 plus. We're at about 4,800. We're here on the West Side. And obviously some of that drug use plays a role into some of the mental health issues that you confront. Like, what is that like for you? How do you navigate somebody that not only has mental health issues, but are also abusing drugs?
Yeah, because a lot of them, they abuse drugs because they're trying to cope with the psychiatric diagnosis.
Right.
Hallucinations, audio and visual hallucinations. It's rough. Working at Columbus Manor, I've seen everything. Like people OD. We have to use Norcan. You know, the K2 when K2 was out.
Yeah.
They was high off that and that whole situation. I was like, man, and then like the X pills. Like I've seen it with my own eyes, and I was like, wow, that's what that is. It wasn't exciting, but I was like, man, like our people, they're suffering, and a lot of them, they need that support. And I think that you know, I know what cocaine smelled like because they had it on a spoon, lighted it up, and I'm just like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? And they was like, you know, Miss Houston, listen, come on. And even if we have those treatment plans, they're going to do what they're going to do. If it's in them. And then now, because they have the methadone and the Suboxone, they have the same thing in there.
Man, I don't know why do our government feel to in order to counteract the drugs you take, we're going to give you more drugs.
Yeah, and then they go and they have behaviors. Like
Facts.
the Norcos.
Facts.
I don't even take Norcos because I seen what one of my patients did. Rolled on the floor because she couldn't get no Norcos. I was like, oh, I don't want no more. I take the pain. You know, just dealing in that population in drugs with the methadone and there's so many loops that you got to go through. You got to go to the methadone clinic. You have to have a box, a lock box. And then I had to go with one of my patients.
Yeah.
Go get the methadone. All right, get the lockbox, sign for it, then come back and give it to the nurse, and they have to give it to you on a schedule. It's just it's just crazy. It's just what I've seen and what I experienced.
Well,
But
Felicia
do
said
we
that-
have enough confidence? See, I actually worked for the first methadone clinic that was established. I worked for a psychiatrist who was giving methadone illegally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying it hadn't even been approved.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he got fired.
Mm-hmm.
But the research and all, I mean, all of these things really get researched
Mm-hmm.
very heavily.
Yeah.
And there are some things that are optional. I mean, there are some substances and some methods, and some professionals believe in one method more than they do another method.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily down the method that they believe in, but they use it, and if other people don't use it, that's kind of their business.
Yeah.
I'm announcing sometime this week that I'm generating $250,000 for one program that does use methadone.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who disagree with methadone, of course, but it's what it says. Maintenance.
Yeah.
That
Yes, sir.
many individuals who use it
Mm-hmm.
can take it as prescribed, go to work, and function.
Yeah.
Come back, go to work the next day, and function. But they still have a dependency on the drug.
Yeah. Hey, so I got one of my Austin Ray's fellow right here on the phone. He wanted to jump in on the conversation. And I told him I wanted him. He called in from the jail. Congressman, you do a lot of work with the jail system.
I sure do.
And so I wanted to make sure that that Fresh right here got an opportunity, as we had a social worker on, to have a quick little conversation. He only got 20 minutes. That's how that thing go. But I told him that I'd give him that space. So, hey, brother, you listening? All right, man. Like, I mean, just had a conversation, man. Let's see. Yeah, hello? Oh, yeah. All right, bet. Yeah, so we got Shakea Houston here. She our social worker. We was in the middle of having a conversation surrounded about mental health, and we just last left off about how opioids affect mental health and things like that. So I don't know if you want to touch on that, or if you want to just jump in the conversation with something different.
Yes, I'll touch on it a little bit. Opioids is definitely a critical part in a lot of things that's happening with individuals in their mental health for several reasons. Because, a lot of people have problems coping with what's going on with the society on several different levels. Whether it's family issues, work issues as far as how to maintain on an economic level. So they tend to turn to a lot of things that have strong sense of potency in their life. A lot of people interact on the level what's the here and now. So they have tend to turn to a drug. More than likely, a lot of these drugs out here is downers, opioids, the prescription pills, the lean, as they call it now these days, and stuff like that, to try to use it as a coping mechanism for the problems they have going on right now, often as decision making.
I can't understand him too well. Can you repeat it, or does everybody else hear it?
So basically, what he's talking about is just how people are using opioids to cope for various reasons, whether it's economically, life reasons. He didn't mention it, but also right now we dealing with the fad of it too, especially like with younger people, doing lean and popping Percocets and some of these other downers that have become very trendy recently. So right now we trying to hook up the external Bluetooth so you all can hear. But right now I got them on speaker calling in for the correctional facility. So yeah, but we're gonna get the Bluetooth set up shortly for y'all. Yeah, go. So
Definitely. But yeah, just everyday life coping. I had did um with Early Walker. I had did in on Pulaski and Roosevelt. We did like a depression screening, like a screening, and a lot of people suffer from depression. A lot of people suffer from PTSD. You know, generational trauma. And a lot of people, they don't know how to cope with it. And a lot of people that we were doing a screening with, they was high where they were doing it. So I'm like, what makes you do the things that you do? And they were like, I can't deal with reality in everyday life.
But how do we find ways to help them cope without resorting to the use of substance?
So I would say my opinion is meet people where they at. Like as far as doing outreach things and being able to have access, to different mental health, like such as social workers, such as counselors, such as like be out there. Like I don't mind going out there and talking with people and conversing with people and like here are resources. Here's Nami's number, here's this, and walk them through there. Not just give them the number and like, here you go, that's it. But actually do it, do the work, and help the community and help people understand like, hey, you're not by yourself out here. Other people dealing with other things, but this is the way you need to go. And follow them along that journey because everybody got a journey and everybody got a story. So therefore, we need to be able to, I guess, the to be able to form this thing like it's normalized mental health. It is real. Like, hey, I got someone I deal with depression or I deal with this, and let them know you're not by yourself. So that's I think being in the community and definitely having these discussions like we're having, but be outside.
Mm-hmm.
We outside, be outside.
Can
So
we
that's my
spot them growing up and develop programs for them while they're children so that they learn while they're growing up ways to handle this oncoming depression. This when you get disappointed, it stops you from doing what you thought you was going to be able to do. I can think of many instances growing up where I was disappointed about things that did not happen. And so I had to fight off the idea that ain't no point in pursuing this.
Facts.
Or continuing to do this. And obviously, fortunately, I was able to fight some of it off. But I had it. I had a lot of disappointment. Hey, that girl with the yellow hair just don't necessarily like me. Or that fellas, those guys don't want me in that group.
Yeah.
Hey, they think I'm a nerd.
Yeah, that was me.
Whatever.
I had to deal with that.
I go around reading books and stuff. I ain't running the set.
One of the things that I wanted to point out is that a lot of brothers, right? We don't have those type of plans in place right now, but a lot of brothers find that when they go into the prison system, right? Cook County Health, probably the largest, mental health facility we have is the jail system. So certainly in Illinois. So sometimes we can't even get proper help until we get there. So I wanted to go to my brother Fresh and ask this man, like, what is that like for you all? How is the mental health treatment facilities in there for you all?
Well, that's a good question. It all depends on the individual, because everybody faces different types of life struggles. It'll be like it's not cool to discuss your problem. Well, that's what I was kind of like, way I was kind of brought up. I didn't have that platform where I get to speak out. So a lot of people don't feel comfortable with that. Coming in front, how they really feel, what's going on with them on a day-to-day basis. It's the same that goes, you hurt people, hurt people. So if you're not dealing with your issues properly, being able to have a platform to speak out on, it becomes difficult. Now, as far as like me here and institution wise, like it's a lack of staff, or a lack of proper treatment that goes around for people that really have those issues, especially throughout the world. There's a lot of people that's not qualified, or those who are qualified, there's enough individuals who go around to help those who are crying out for help, who need the help, to get from the here.
Let me see. So I wonder, can we get to a space where we create plans for people? Like the congressman was saying, do you think that we can, as people are younger, right, and they're experiencing certain things or getting to like, what could we do to circumvent them becoming adults with full blown, really difficult, mental health diagnosis?
What was the wait?
Like as Congressman was saying, like, is there a way that we can get to youth or younger people at an earlier age as they're experiencing, possibly traumatic events, which could lead later in life to some of these mental health diagnoses?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, what could we do, you think?
I think more programming. I mean, we can rally the troops, like get more programming, and then also have mental health specialists to check in, because a lot of people they're dealing with everything still stems from childhood.
Right.
It's either make or break. Period. Once we structure, okay, if the home is dysfunctional, you need to show them what's functional. So create an atmosphere. You have the man, the woman, you have these team leaders, you have these people that are in place to help support, peer support. So in the community, we can do that. I think we can do the peer support in the community, have the structure. This is what this looks like. This is functional. As far as like, how parents yelling and screaming, cussing at their kids, you ain't gonna be nothing. Like,
man, killing
the
babies.
I mean, death of a child, and you grow up and you thinking that. Facts. Then we have imposter syndrome, where we think we're not good enough, or we can't do certain things. So that developed over time, from childhood. It's not planted in you. Then when you get older, it's not going. You have to restructure and unlearn to learn again.
Unlearn, relearn.
Yes, absolutely. And so I think the peer support, having different programs in place, having mental health counselors. Hey, you matter, and kids. As an adult, as an adult looking back, my parents, they was like, you do as I say, and that's it.
Right.
That's it. That goes. Like, you don't even really have no opinion. But now I'm kind of like changing the narrative, because there are little people with feelings too,
Right.
And so I kind of bend the rules when it comes to that. I'm still like old school all day. Like, hey, listen, I'm a better ride, but I also listen to what's going on, and I don't try to like beat it in my daughter's head. Like, her feelings matter. Like, if she tells me, Mom, I'm upset, I'm angry at what you did or what you said, and I was like, okay, I'll take accountability, but what did you do that caused me to do this? So, and then we would evaluate what's going on. Yeah, Mom, you was right. All right, my bad. I'm sorry. And I tell her I apologize on how I said it. I meant what I said, but I apologize on how I said it.
The delivery.
Absolutely. It's all about the delivery, even with the kids. Working with the kids. And I did a mentorship with Wyman and on Pulaski. And just making sure they're emotional, giving them emotional support. And my mom always yelling at me. They always doing it. I was like, well, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
I always go back. So what are you doing?
Yeah, tell me where you fit within this problem.
Absolutely, because it can't be all be mama.
Facts.
And it's really that you got to learn it from somewhere. Like if you're doing it, and then because I see some stuff that my parents did, and I'm doing it with my child.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, all right, let me change this around. Let me put a little twist on it.
Yeah.
But we have to be supportive. We have to validate their feelings. And I think another thing, we have to validate these children's feelings.
Barry has a question.
Yes.
Go ahead, Barry.
Hi, everyone. So I was thinking about the opioid addiction, and what occurs to me is the whole society is addicted to drugs. Hardly anybody is not taking some pharmaceuticals. So what occurs to me is that Marshall Hanks Jr. Had, I assume he still has it. They have a program. It's the son, not the father. Has a construction program where they have about a dozen or so young men, and they live at the rectory as a group. And my recollection is it's something like a 6 or 8 month program. And they're there to learn construction skills and life skills, both of them. And they work as a group to do the repairs at the rectory next door. So what I like so much about it is that, and I just attended, I think it was something like a 2-hour session, and they were talking about all kinds of life skill, ways of living kind of stuff. So teaching these young men how to live and to have a skill, like a construction skill, seems like a good combination to deal with a lot of the fundamental problems we're dealing with. Because it would seem like the program is self-sustaining, going from one construction project to another, and using the income from the renovations to fund the training of the young men. There weren't any young women in the group.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, one what caught my attention is that's trade. We talk about trades all the time. Some people will never go to college, and that's okay. And we got to stop pumping this idea that everybody has to get a master's degree to be successful.
Right.
It's absolutely not true. And so basically what that sounded like is we're giving people a different lease on life and a new opportunity that they may not have had otherwise. And I do think our community needs more opportunities like that, whatever that is, to give them. Because I mean, I'm sure we got a ton of excellent cooks that'll never be found because everybody's just like, well, you got to go to school to get a master's degree. The same thing with landscapers. We probably got somebody out there waiting to create some dope design to get the landscaping done a lot easier, but we keep forcing the school. So it's just looking at.
And the other critical part of it is skill part plus interpersonal and part.
Right.
So it's the combination and the group the peer pressure within the group.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Psychologically, people actually perform better when in the presence of other people, and they all and so that point is well understood. That if we could get people to be around one another, especially peers, they'll probably do better. So we have to continue to lean on programs like, and as Shakea said, this and Feisty actually brought up. This is essentially peer support specialists. our community should look for ways in which we create peer support specialists that can help one another build whatever skills, interpersonal relationships, and whatever else is necessary. Oh, sure. I think you. I think his one's at there.
But I think even with that, do we have the program? You mentioned Marsha Hatch's program. That's just one
There's just one.
program
Yeah.
in the Garfield Park
Yeah.
area. Are there other programs? So I find that when we talk about youth, I'm not familiar with a whole bunch of programs
Mm-hmm.
that are just youth programs.
Man, we got so many.
Kids come to some place so many times a week and do whatever, and that's their program. Where there are 50 kids over here that somebody else is running a program. I met with a young fellow the other day, and I'm going to take him around to as many sites. He has a curriculum, and he is a psychiatric social worker.
Okay.
Nice.
And he has a curriculum that he wanted me to review.
Yeah.
And I did. And I think it's an excellent program.
Yeah.
If he could go to a church where they got a program and kind of put this curriculum on it.
Yeah.
Or the YMCA, or the Boys Club, or somebody that's got these programs. I don't even know. I used to do the Boy Scout thing with kids. I was chairman of the Austin Boy Scouts for 13 years. And at a number of the churches, we had excellent scouting programs for boys. And I would go to as many events and so forth as I could. I've never been able to devote all of my time to any single thing because I've always been involved with a lot of different things. But from time to time, I'd go to, the Gold Eagles event, or I'd go to, I remember one time we actually had 500 boys at a scouting at a tent city event. And the guy who was the scoutmaster, he was just unbelievable. Of course, he's died, passed on, that kind of thing. But I think we have to have these events where young people are not just being talked about and what need to be for them.
That's for sure.
Where the programs actually exist, where they can come and be a part of it.
Well, Barbara said we need more internship programs.
Well, internship is good, but that's one or two people. I got 3 interns right now. I have 3. I took them with me the other day when we went out to the thing in Oak Park. One's a young white fellow, lives in Oak Park. The other one is a young African American fellow. And actually, the young lady who was killed the other day, her sister was going to be, sister's coming to Howard. And we had talked about her being an intern in my office in D.C. But I think we need, programs for a bunch of kids to be able to actually search for who they are. And that's what this gentleman's curriculum does. Search for who they are and who they want to be and what they could become.
It's interesting because the 17-year-old young lady that we brought on wants to help get young people, jump started into having a better relationship with mental health. And she actually wanted to figure out how to get them to be like more self-aware and do a little bit of introspection as they're young, and hopefully that can be a springboard to them getting into mental health.
Yeah.
And I actually connected her with the CEO of Bobby E. Wright to try to get something like that going.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, I think that young man might benefit from connecting with the CEO as well.
Yeah, I have them on my mind.
Okay.
Take them to Dr. Sophia.
Yeah.
And see if they may not have a way of using his curriculum.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He
Right.
works for the Home and Age
Mm-hmm.
Society and all. So he has a job and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a former football player.
Okay, nice.
And
That's what's up.
And a delightful young fellow. And
That's
as
what's
we
up.
were talking, he discovered that I had been involved with sickle cell. He mentioned his sister. As he mentioned that he had a sister who had sickle cell anemia. And I shared with him that I'd been involved with sickle cell for a long time. And he was just, but yeah, I'm going to take him around to as many connectors
Mm-hmm.
and see if I can get people to make use
Yeah.
of his curriculum to train young people and have them involved and
Yeah.
ongoing doing something. And that may help
Yeah.
individuals not fall into the trap of needing opiate.
Yeah. I was going to say what's missing is partnerships, though. I do think there are a lot of programs, a lot of things are very small. They're real niche, right? And then it's and for whatever reason, again, we are all disjointed in a lot of different ways. And it's my belief that if we brought some of these people and programs together and made them larger and combined curriculums, now you can have a lengthier time of stay, so to speak, with these kids in various ways. But everybody want to do their own thing, though, and that's okay. But at some point, man, we can't keep doing this. Look, man, we can't keep doing these. Look, man, it got to get bigger. It has to. Everybody wants to do their own little pocket of this, and everybody's still broke.
Yeah,
everybody's still broke. So it's like, all right, at some point, we're gonna have to come together for the greater good and figure this thing out together. You know what I mean? Because that, to me, that's where we at. I do think we have a lot. I say it all the time. We get a lot of resources. We have a lot that are just, whether it's poorly marketed, advertised, people want to, only let the friends know, and whoever else can benefit in the immediate. It's a lot. You know what I mean? We got to get out that mindset.
Once we do that, then I think it'll be greater. The impact will be greater, especially for
facts.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't do it by yourself. Take a village.
No, take a village all day.
Well, what I want to do is question Congressman Davis. Now that you won this political race that just ended a couple days ago, where do you see and how do you see yourself supporting a lot of these initiatives that we're just speaking on?
I already do. I'm not going to profess to do anything other than what I've been doing for the last 40 years of public engagement. I can tell you at least 10 organizations that exist that I started that people don't know I started because I don't necessarily tell them that I'm the impetus behind starting this.
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like that's where the question needs to go.
Creating, but here's what I'm going to do. There's no opponent in my particular race, and I really want to thank the people who got me elected. A lot of them. Many of them are small groups of individuals who function as a group. The thing that became clear to me during this election is that the Black community does not have much of a political infrastructure.
At all.
Yeah.
I'm saying just does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few of what we call the ward organizations that have good ward organizations.
Mhm.
You have a group of people who function together, but many of them really don't have anything. I'm saying they don't have anything to keep educating people and convincing them that they need to vote.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't have as much grounding as I do have with lots of individual groups and individuals, hardly ever do I go someplace that I don't know half the people who are there.
Mm.
I'm whether it's at church, I don't just know the preacher. I know the deacons. I know the choir people. I know the people. Whatever. I go in a joint, decide I'm gonna have a beer. I know half the people who are in there because I do all these different kind of things. Um, but what pleases me so much about the outcome is that the core community is going to be represented because I'm going to continue to represent the core community. I'm going to announce probably this week sometime several $2 million projects that I've gotten money for people. I think I got at least 5 of them in North London. Uh, projects that we told people about, write a proposal, you may be able to get you some money. Well, those have now been approved. 15 of them. And that's 15 CEOs. That's 15 people who wrote proposals. Although 100 and some people submitted proposals, but we could only get funding for 15 of them. So they're going to get their money, and that's going to help them do whatever they do. We served 800 families on the 20th, Juneteenth, down at the JLM Center when we had the giveaway thing. We still got some couches, brand new and stuff.
Andre, the congressman's breaking up. Is it possible to put the mic closer to him?
Yeah, it's possible for me to do that.
Like they keep moving around.
And so all of those things will continue. But I am going to spend a great deal of time between now and November trying to convince people to vote. Because if people don't vote, I'm telling you, you
get ran
ain't
roughshod.
gonna gain nothing. You're gonna lose a lot. I'm talking about you're gonna lose, Lord have mercy.
Tremendous amount.
I hate to even think of it because a part of doing government is deciding where money comes from and who gets it and how do you pay for it. That's a big piece of what government does. It does other things too. It decides on issues and policies and whether you can get an abortion, whether you can't get an abortion, or whether you can get your roof fixed, or whether you can't get your roof. But it decides on the utilization of money. And if a community is not voting, then they're just fooling themselves. They tricking themselves. They taking themselves backwards. And if they don't understand, this is political. Hell, everything is political.
So let me ask, right? Because one of the things that I started doing in the aftermath, I've been telling people, listen, we gotta get some dogs in the race, man. If we really want things to happen for our community, we gotta have to be kingmakers. That means the few the lot of us that are small entities that are actually about this, that's on boots on the ground, we all got to work together to get people who we want in that space. That means we're going to have to donate our monies and our times and our energies and efforts to getting these people elected. This is not the same time that you grew up in, though.
No,
People are not moving in that same way with that same type of passion for their community.
but we have to move.
How do we get them there, though?
We get them there by becoming and starting at the base level. The base level is helping people understand that they can make decisions about the block they live on. They can make this, nobody else, they can make decisions about what goes on their block that nobody else can make. And so the leadership for the community has to emerge from the people in the community. And yeah, you get somebody to put in some place or some office or some whatever, but the important leadership emerges from where people are. They are the leaders. They are the ones who determine if they can go to sleep at night and be comfortable, that their block ain't gonna be shot up with firecrackers and guns and stuff. And so we're gonna limit this stuff. We just ain't gonna shoot up all night. If we're gonna shoot up for the 4th of July, we're gonna stop at 12 so people got to go to work the next day, can go to sleep and go to bed. I think we can do that. And I think we have to stop listening to people who don't know what they're talking about.
Nah, I agree right there.
I'm saying, I hear so much erroneous stuff that is just absolutely either in error or intended to be, or is, I don't know what it's designed to do. But it be lies, to just be untrue, don't be rational, don't be logical, don't even be reasonable.
Felicia is saying we need more peers to be in office. Barbara is saying that the aldermen are not doing their jobs.
Then get rid
of them.
Yeah.
All I'm saying, listen, if you're listening, if you hit me, we ready to build coalition. We've been doing that for years now, but at this point, we got to start to take it politically, though. And I've been saying this since I lost 4 years ago. I'm just saying, like, if we want our circumstance to change politically, we got to get together and become the power base in our community. A lot of people make things happen. All power to the people, because the power is where the people reside.
And I like people in the office who realize that their community needs more than their vote.
Right.
Facts.
That the
Facts.
community needs leadership.
Exactly.
Facts.
And the only way you can provide it is you got to be out among the people
Right.
where you're meeting them, you're knowing them, pace yourself. You know, my wife was telling me earlier, she said, the lady that ran against you say, she hoped you make it to the general election, taking a shot at my age. Well, you know, I say, I don't want to help it because I've been fortunately blessed.
Yes.
Yeah, I have been,
Yeah.
so I never had to spend a lot of time in nobody's hospital. I do all right.
Yeah.
I got a back injury that I've had since 1979. But I've been engaged all day. I've been doing stuff all day long. And I'm going to do a little writing when I go home. I'm going to do some writing, some thank you notes and thank you cards and thank you for your contribution. Thank you for being engaged. Thank you for being involved. People can do so many things. They really can. I mean, they can do them from every vantage point that they live or work from. And you ain't got to be a preacher. You ain't got to be a teacher. You ain't got to be a social worker. You know, one of the best groups I had at one point in my life was the Born Losers Motorcycle Club.
Born
That's
Losers.
right.
Well, I ain't heard about
Born
them.
Losers Motorcycle Club.
My mama then was talking about them joints.
Nick Charles and Mason were the two leaders. These guys had bought themselves 3 service stations. They used to have 3 standard service stations. They always came. We'd have so many motorcycles during my back to school parades and picnics and that kind of thing. We had a memorial service one time after Harold Washington had died. And the police was they saw these motorcycle riders. We had a Kingdom Baptist Church right up here on Central. And they followed all these guys and they walked in and the guys was standing there singing Not We Shall Overcome, but Lift Every Father.
Oh man, favorite. That's my favorite.
Motorcycle riders with their paraphernalia.
Right.
And these people's families, when I see them, come in contact with them, and many others, just people who did things, they do things, but before they started doing, they weren't doing. A lot of their families was picking cotton and stuff in Mississippi, and all when they migrated to Chicago, came to the west side in the North Lawndale community, where there were so many people you couldn't, if you threw a rock on a building, people would be coming out for days. I'm saying, if you lose hope, if you give up, you stop. If you don't believe that your children can have a better life than you've had, or your grandchildren can have a better life than you had, then you stop preparing for it. So you got to keep believing it and try and help them understand that you can do a lot of stuff for them. But they're going to have to do a lot of stuff for themselves.
That's right. Talk to me, Shakea. Where you at on this whole community thing?
Woo! Like I said, I'm outside. I'm out here in the streets. I'm out here, meeting people. Like, hey, how you doing? One question, how you doing? And they open up a whole world.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about for my birthday. I want to do a community event, feeding the community, passing out PPE gear. That's what I did for my birthday last year. Well, 2 years ago when the pandemic started. This year I want to do the same thing, and also I'm doing a fundraiser in September, and I'm, doing a fundraiser for 2 nonprofit organizations, Friends of the Children and Building Brighter Futures. It used to be the old back.
Do you know Aaron Bolden, Friends of the Children?
Yes. Yes. I met them on the Zoom, and I was on a Zoom with them, and I was like, okay, they dope. I like them.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like.
Yeah, we just connected.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The husband of a former schoolmate, and we just connected. So I'm rocking with them too.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing a fundraiser for.
Okay, bet.
Saturday, September 24th. It's at the Midwest Conference Center in North Lake. Just kind of go straight down North Avenue. You get straight there. The Concord place is right next door. And I'm doing a fundraiser for them. I want to give back. And also after the fundraiser is over with, I'm going to be, giving my time, talent, and treasure to those 2 organizations after the prom. Just like I did with Wyman. I did an etiquette class for 10 kids.
This was up.
Showed them how to, the fork and the, everything. And we did like the trial run at the end of the program was over with. So I try to give back into the community because somebody did it for me. Like I said, born and raised in Austin. Like my mom did, they did not play. You can't, like on the block, you couldn't go to Miss White House, to Miss Wood, you couldn't go nowhere else. So, but I want to give back and to these 2 organizations so I can be able to look, to feed and to, have a more healthier, like as far as mental health, is concerned. Also feed to them, read to them, all that good stuff. And I'm looking for sponsors. So if anybody want to sponsor, you can inbox me on socialworksundayti.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. You can go to my page. And you also my website with all the information, www.socialworksundayti.com. And I'm definitely looking for sponsors. It's in September. It's like 2 months away. 2 months. Yeah, 2 months away. And but I want to give to the organization. It's not about me. It's about them. At the end of the day. So yeah, love on them and have a good time in adult prom. A lot of people didn't go to prom. A lot of people didn't, encounter the prom. Like I'm doing the whole thing, live entertainment, plated dinner, open bar.
Doing it big.
Yeah, I'm doing it big this time. Last year it was good. I had over 130 people there. This year it's going to be a second annual. I'm going to try to do it every year to different organizations in Chicago. Yeah, for the betterment, and this is how we reach and teach and connect and networking and all that good stuff. Never know who will be in the room. That's all I always tell people. Never know. So that's some of the things that I'm doing now, and also doing my PT business. Working that, I'm trying to get me a brick and mortar. The Lord just let me get it, Social Work Sunday Tea, and I want to do a tea, mental health, mental health. And also do, maybe get a yoga instructor, once I get out, I got everything mapped out and written out, but I'm waiting on the timing and the place and all that good stuff so I can be able to do it. And I know it's going to get done because everything I say I'm going to do, I do it. So.
No question.
Now, I just want to go back to Congressman's point again. People got to vote.
Yeah, they do.
One thing that I pushed was that everybody that can hear me find at least 2 people that would vote that never voted before or didn't vote or planning on not to vote. Get those 2 people to come out. And let's try to build these numbers. You can do it. You got to have hope.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Teleferro did not win the judgeship he was running for, and he should have. The young fella,
Joe,
in the 7th Sub-Circuit, which is designed to be a minority sub-circuit, did not win the sub-circuit that supposedly everybody I know almost were supposed to have been supporting.
Yeah.
They were supporting him, but they wasn't doing nothing.
What does support look like though, right? Because I heard this about like pastors. Well, pastors, they can go ahead and support you by endorsing you, but if they don't have any of their parishioners or how do you call it, like members, out at the ballot box or you know what I mean? Like, what is support actually?
Talking to people.
So
they ought to vote, help them pass out a few signs.
So what it sounds like is that that's what's happening with these guys. People endorsed them. They said, "Yeah, we got you," but at the end of the day, only thing that happened was your name ended up on a piece of paper, and people, if they didn't have that piece of paper, they walked in with something different, then they went somewhere else.
And I'm not even sure his opponent had a bunch of pieces of paper out. I didn't see a lot of them.
Me neither.
But what his opponent had that he didn't have, she had the long arm of herself. She went out there and shook hands. She went out there and met what you do.
Exactly what you do.
What you do every day, on the day, every year, every decade.
Connect with the peoples. I'll let them.
I didn't see her out in no places myself. I'm saying I saw her signs out.
Yeah, but she was there where the bulk of the people were because she was in Oak Park, and a bunch of people in Oak Park told me they saw her out.
Yeah, she was in areas. And of course, I'm sure that Oak Park played a significant role. But there are more people in Chicago than in
So here's the deal for me, right?
But not in that 11. What is 11
No,
subset?
not in
11.
that.
Nah,
Yeah, because
it's more
the
north.
only people that can vote was just people in Austin on the
north end.
Yeah, north side of North Avenue.
Yeah.
Barry had a question real quick. Go ahead, Barry.
I've really been sitting with what you said, Congressman Davis, about the vote. November is 4 months off, and the consequences of the Republicans taking control of Congress just seems like a step back towards slavery for all of us. The Supreme Court, Republican Supreme Court, has made radical decisions, 3 decisions in the last few days that are just mind-boggling. And I don't know whether anybody's been watching the January 6th hearing. They're devastating.
Yeah, they should have all got shot.
And I don't know what
We wouldn't even be here.
to mobilize young people to get them out there.
That was my question.
We got to help them understand that they're not so different from older.
But
They I mean, what is the difference? Somebody tell me. What is the difference?
What, between older people and young
Yeah.
people? Well, young people don't go to church. Let's start with that.
So
lied to for too long. No, lied to for too long.
Many of them don't go to church.
Lied to for too long, though.
Name 5 people you know that's in your age group that go to church, besides you.
So that means they're going to go to hell.
But we don't believe in that, though. We don't believe in that.
That's the point.
You don't
They don't have
No,
a belief system
we don't believe in that.
outside of their own
No,
beliefs.
it's no. I feel like it's no foundation. Like as far as
There you
how I was brought up. You know, I'm really like old school when it comes to
Facts.
certain things.
Yeah.
You know, that's the foundation. That's all I know. But over time, I was like,
That makes sense.
It do make sense. Like some stuff, it don't make sense. And I'm
Right.
like, so is this a man-made verbiage that you gave me, or is this really, you know, is this your law? You know, so
Right.
I think
Right.
nowadays, because people don't want to, the younger generation, they don't want to be. You can't spit in their face and tell them it's raining.
We
can't do that.
nor piss on our heads either.
Absolutely. So you have to be direct and straightforward. Like if it's a dog, it's gonna bark. If it's a cat, it's gonna meow. And I think, you know, stop creating this delusion or putting a wool over our faces and making it seem like it's the perception of things.
Right.
And you know, when we change the narrative of things, then I think this generation, you can't just tell them because I said so.
Right.
It's like, okay,
Right.
this is what this is because this.
Yeah.
Versus the older generation where, you know, everybody's set in their ways and nobody want to move and be stubborn.
Because the older generation had nothing but hope.
Absolutely.
When
the
system had a foot on your throat, what you gonna do?
But they got it off.
Yeah.
They did what they
had to do.
Yeah.
To get it off. They understood. But this business of what going to church or not going to church or what religion or spirituality or whatever it is that people call. I maintain that, you know, there are times when all of us experience disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
There are times when we all get violated.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes if you have a certain belief, you can overcome it without reacting a certain way. I mean, what it does for me is oftentimes I can be down, I can be angry, I can be frustrated, I can be whatever it is that I am. But if I start thinking, and I often think of my father, whose favorite guy in the Bible was Job.
Yeah.
And he said, if you had a problem, he'd often say to you, yeah, I know you got a problem. I know you didn't intend to lose that ball game. I know your girlfriend with the other guy. I saw it too. But think of Joe.
Yes.
And Job had everything in the world, lost it all.
Lost it all.
But he kept his faith.
Yeah.
And then he got all that back
Yeah.
and some. Well, I would start driving along in my car thinking, my friends ain't with me on so and so and so. Then I started to well, look what a friend I have in Jesus. All of our sins and griefs to bear.
Yeah.
Oh, what a privilege it is to carry everything to God in prayer. Next thing I know, I'm singing, I can see clearly now. Say the sun. I'm saying, I ain't into all the fire and brimstone.
You gotta pick a foundation.
Yeah.
And find one that works.
But if the folks you're around don't share some of that, you probably won't feel it.
Absolutely.
My folks never made us go to church, but we started off going, so we wanted to go. As a matter of fact, we got mad if we couldn't go. Yeah, we feel like we were being punished if we couldn't go.
But does having a foundation based on church make you want to vote though? Or are you saying that that's where hope originates? Is that the first beginning?
It's a foundation for democracy.
Church?
If you go back thousands and thousands of years, all came out of philosophy.
You see our face, young people. You see our face. Look, what are you talking about?
It has structure.
Check this out.
Right. Okay.
You know how Russia was founded? Russia was founded through the Vikings, the Slovak people, and they got persecuted by the Mongols. So what did they do? They said we need to come up with a religion. So what were the religions? One of them was Judaism. The other one was the Orthodox Church, and there was one other religion. Islam. They said we don't want Islam because you know what? We can't drink. So this is when they were starting Russia. They ain't doing it. Then the next thing they said, well, we really don't want to go with Judaism because a lot of the tenets in there ain't what we want to do. So they went to the Christian Orthodox Church because it worked for what they wanted to have. Now, what Russia's doing now is still the foundation because the Orthodox Church is deeply embedded into what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, I want to know if we so scared of the Republicans, what are the Democrats doing in order to negate their potential takeover, especially in trying to get younger people involved with the party? That's my question. Because we could blame the Republicans for all the stuff that they're doing, rightfully so, but this is a power structure between two different parties. There is a Democratic Party. What are they doing?
They're doing everything they can think of to do. They're trying to organize. They're trying to.
I don't know what you're thinking. Aren't you watching the results of the Supreme Court?
I'm just only focusing on what the Democrats doing. What I know to be true is Cook County, city of Chicago, is a largely Democratic city. All I know is,
but the people with the largest amount of money are not Democrats.
So we got to get the people. So what I'm trying to say is, before November comes, how are we finna get more people involved in this process so that the Democrats can ultimately continue to have some semblance of power to make decisions? That's what I'm asking.
By demonstrating.
We don't have a solution.
Well, that's a problem then. How did we got to this point because the Democrats ain't had no solution? That's what I'm saying.
Well, we've had more solutions that advanced us than we didn't have that kept us in slavery and kept us sucking up to people and sucking us into wondering what they're going to do. I mean, of course, we've made some progress. We have not made all the progress that we've had the potential of making, but we've certainly made
Oh, bro.
We've certainly made progress. I mean, so when you evaluate,
But what
sometimes you evaluate on the basis of the depths from which you've come,
Yeah.
as opposed to only the heights to which you've not reached.
Well, let's be real about it. We need voters, right? Is that what we need?
Oh, you gonna need voters.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
need
Yeah.
people to vote.
You need
Yeah.
people to
So
vote.
we don't have enough people. That's
That's what I'm saying.
You do have people.
Okay, so we got people. So we
They
got to
just
get people.
didn't vote.
They didn't,
Okay.
right? We got them. They did. So how do you galvanize them? Because obviously, and I just looked at some world news where they said 10,000 swing voters switched over to the Republican Party. I mean, you got young people that now they might be on my post on my Facebook, but a lot of them are leaning towards Republican side. What I'm saying, because they're like the Democrats aren't doing anything, they haven't done anything for a while. But it's not crazy talk though, because and this is part and parcel the reason why young people are like y'all. You're saying that's crazy talk, but that's the way that they're thinking. So instead of approaching it that way, why isn't the question how do we get them on this side? How do we move them from where they are? Because like I told Steve, young people are essentially swing voters right now. You got to get these guys.
We got to stop lying to them just like the Republicans are. That's what we got to do.
Hey, whatever it's gonna take, but I mean,
that's gonna be beneficial to them. That's what they're looking at, and that's how
because
they
I'm telling you, if you don't see the stuff that Republicans are lying about,
oh yeah,
and don't see them as true lies,
yeah.
I mean, I get it. People have certain levels of mentalities that don't go above a certain level, but good Lord. What about the ones that are far more intelligent than that?
But some people will kind of just say all politicians lie. They have to say something to get there and don't follow through.
Anybody can.
You said it earlier. You said it.
Yeah, but anybody can say anything they want to say, but that don't make it real.
Right.
That's what they say. Just like you can put these people's names on a piece of paper saying that people have been endorsed, but if you ain't did nothing other than then put the name on a piece of paper and they didn't get no votes, then they don't win.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that all politicians just inherently lie. I think that politicians make a lot of compromise and compromise a lot of the way that they think in order to move issues and situations beyond where they are.
Yeah.
And while there's no perfection, there is movement. And so if you're looking for perfection all the time, you don't get that because you can't get the movement.
But you got a lot of fear mongering going on from the Republican Party. They're out there telling them that the Democrats are eating babies and
they doing all that kind of stuff.
You know, all this. Just I'm like, I don't even know where this stuff coming from, but you know.
I think more so feed them with the truth. This is what this is, and be able to like persuade them enough to say, hey, this is what we're doing over here. But if the Democrats, they're not moving or they're not showing or producing, they're gonna go to the Republican. Okay,
that's all I'm saying.
So the solution is show them who we are as if you're Democrat, show them.
Like I'm gonna give you as an example, Congressman Davis. There's a lot of people that would say, "What has he done? He's been in there for 20 and
guess what? I don't give a damn."
That's right. For real.
I don't give a damn because I know.
Right.
I know you the truth.
Right.
And the truth will set you free.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't give a damn.
But what I'm saying is, as a Democrat yourself, right? If people are saying that, then they attribute that to the whole, right? So if they're feeling like you're not doing anything in a position you've been in for XYZ,
but that don't mean that they accurate.
Right. I agree.
I'm saying, if you tell people the truth, then the truth, at some point, people have to be rational. People have to be logical. You can't just feed ignorance all the time. lies all the time.
People gonna say that. Somebody said that to me, asked me about DeAndre. Well, Steve, what has he really done? I'm like, what has he been done? The man been doing this stuff for 8 years. He ain't that old.
Right.
You know? And then they were like, well, you know, has he ever worked in corporate? I'm like, yeah. He worked as a boss.
Teachers try to teach people how to read. They come to class because they want to study.
Right.
Facts.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right.
They try to teach them science,
Yeah.
but they won't listen.
You're right.
Yeah.
So some people, you will never get to where you're trying to get them.
No.
But do the best that you can do, and know that you're doing it with honesty and integrity.
And I can tell you one thing: if you didn't do it long enough, you forgot. Like you talking about, you want to feed the hungry. You do that 1 year, they'll be like, "That's a fly by night."
Right. Exactly.
You ain't done nothing.
Yeah.
This man been out here since Trayvon. I done seen him out here side by side with
10
me.
years.
And they still talking about, what did he do, Steve?
10 years.
Well, because they never
10 years worth of history.
They don't.
Right.
They don't evaluate, and they don't know enough to evaluate accurately. And so you take some responsibility.
The problem is that the only ones I've heard who talk about taking, having the billionaires their fair share of the Democrats. And the billionaires control all the social media that you're using, that people see all the time. So it's like the people who have no interest in the Democrats succeeding are controlling the communication channels.
I feel that.
And you wonder.
I respect that.
You know, I just remember years of frustration trying to talk to people about the menace that George W. Bush and Cheney represented. And to no avail against the mainstream media.
Maybe it's just me, but I've seen some of the best economies under Democratic regimes. That's what I've seen. Now, people tend to say Reagan was the best economy. I ain't seen nobody with no jobs in Reagan years.
My God, he was awful.
But the people that had the jobs say that,
Did you remember when Reagan died? It was like Monica had died.
So I think one of the things that Barry said, if let's just say the Republicans do control all the media, why is it that I don't necessarily see the Democrats being more boots on the ground, right? Even recruiting efforts, like I always tell Steve, right? I say I'm independent. Part of the reason I'm independent is because nobody from the party is like, yo, hey, we see you working. We like what you need to be over here and be a part of building the community with us because we the ones trying. And I'm just saying, I think we in a different space now. That means you got to change the way you do things. So for a younger person to be approached by somebody might be a way of them saying, oh, they see me.
Chicago
we have one party that doesn't deserve our loyalty. That's been traitorous.
I don't have a loyalty for any party though, so it don't matter to me. You get no loyalty from me.
Can I finish what I'm saying? That has violated absolutely everything that I know of that offends. And the other party, they may not be perfect, and I have a lot of disappointment, but to be dependent when we're in a horrible situation where we have one effective party that seems legitimate and the other one is illegitimate. So it's like one party suit. It's horrible.
That's great sentiment, but that don't win over anybody. That don't win over young people though.
I'm just trying to be real with you.
But that does not. I'm trying to tell you that does not win over young
what
people.
is it that young people want?
Well, like I said,
Tell me what the young people.
We got. Go ahead, Tamika.
Okay, the bottom line is the way we used to think the either Democrat or Republican, right? But now a generation of people sees it as that whatever the candidates are saying, you never need to believe, regardless to if they are Democrats or Republicans. For example, redhead man, okay? He ran for office several times as an independent and never won. When did he win? When he went as a Republican, when he had that force behind him. So a lot of the times when you run as an independent or you go as an independent, people don't really vote for you because of the mentality we have in our heads that it's either Republican or Democrat, whichever one that you support the most. But when it all boils down to it, a lot of the choices that are made doing when they're trying to run for office, they don't even do what they say they're gonna do. And once they're in office, we have to wait until the next round to try to get them out, or some people just give up because they feel like their voice is not being heard.
Right.
But there are many countries that have multiple political parties. None of them have the same stability that exists in this country. They have multiple parties. And so you don't have to be a Democrat or a Republican. You can be whatever you want. You can create your own party, and you can get enough people to follow you where you're instituted as a party. But whatever it is that people generally don't like, they change it. And there are Republicans who don't like what the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Remember, there was the Tea Bag Party or the Tea Party.
The Whigs.
They started out as Tea Bags.
Yeah.
Like
Democratic Republicans.
They found out what that really was.
Right, exactly.
But I'm saying,
And
but they all ended up being the Republicans anyway. So.
But their issue with the Republicans was that the Republicans were allowing too much progression for other people who didn't think the way they thought. They want to go back to, some of them want to go back to slavery. Some of them want to go back to police brutality. Some of them want to go back to the police stop you,
stop and frisk,
jack you up, they stop and frisk. Now, do young people want that?
No.
Yeah, I mean, trying to reach
I can't do that.
enough agreement, but that's what.
Yeah.
That's why they like what Trump says. Trump says what's on his mind. He likes to keep the division. Black people over here, Mexicans over here, Arabs over there. He wants to keep the division, and that's why many of them are voting for him, because they said he's saying what I'm thinking. But is that good for any kind of unification?
And that allows less than majority rule.
Right. Why do we? But my question would be, why do we? If we know that exists, if those people in large amounts exist that want to keep us separated, why are we fighting to still stay integrated there?
Because it's a union. It's the United States of America.
This country ain't never been united, man. Them people still want to whoop us upside the head.
Yeah.
On both sides of the party.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Like, I mean, I'm just saying.
A lot of those people don't want women to have no rights over their bodies, and they ain't gonna have no rights as of last week. So,
well, by the state though.
No,
by the state.
But they gonna be. They you know what? Somebody went on and said they're not gonna monitor where you travel, like on Google or something no more, because it might mean that you went to an abortion clinic and you get locked up if you come across state lines and you went there to, it's too much. It's too much into people's lives, and it's only the party that's pushing this is the ones that's trying to divide everybody. Which, okay, we're a divided country, but we got rules. If you want to sit there and call me out, call me names that are against the rules, you're gonna pay some cost for that. But once they take the rules away, which young people don't care because they don't care about the rules, they just like, we just want to be told what we want to hear. And this person's telling the truth. She's telling what I want to hear.
If my opponent had won the election, what do you think would have been her platform in terms of.
They would have been continuing everything you was already
No,
doing.
it wouldn't.
You don't think so?
I guarantee you.
Come on, man.
I've never heard of mention reentry one time.
I didn't
I
either.
never heard of mention anything about the 100 million people who got criminal records. All the brothers and stuff walking up and down here that can't get a job because they got records. They've been arrested and they live day to day. I ain't never heard of mention none of that. I sure didn't. Now maybe I wasn't listening.
And I can almost guarantee you she wasn't going to be a freshman on the Ways and Means Committee.
Well, not even with standing committees and so forth. No, she wouldn't have been.
No, that was a freshman.
She wouldn't have even been thought of for none of that. That just ain't the way the system works. But I'm talking about what would have been the issues that she would have been promoting and pushing. I never heard her mention no money for every early childhood education.
I think our platform centered around, gun violence survivors,
and so
women's rights, I believe.
So gun violence and
economic stability.
That people in Illinois, and especially in Chicago, have a good record on trying to get rid of guns.
Mm-hmm.
The Supreme Court has held up the gun rights, and if we don't elect enough individuals to change the position, you can't buy a gun in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
You can't buy a gun in Chicago. Not legal. You can go there.
You go to different.
You can go outside. Chicago.
You can go outside of Chicago, yeah, for sure.
But you can't buy one in Chicago.
Right.
Not legal. No, I think that people have to figure out, it's kind of like serve who you're going to serve. And different areas and different communities have different priorities.
Yeah. I do want to get back to give you an answer though. So what I would think could attract more younger people to the Democratic Party is more recruitment efforts, right? Like bring the party to the people and recruit young people. We're not in this space where just because we're black, you're gonna hit us a lot from younger people. Just because we're black does not mean we're gonna vote Democrat. You don't get our vote that easily. So if you come recruit us, and what that part of the recruitment means, keeping up with the times a little bit. We want to see you on social media a little bit more. You know what I mean? We want to see young people, and when I say young, I mean like myself.
You're doing what on social media?
So I'm gonna give you like one of the things that came up after the race was some young people, they do interviews, so to speak, right? And they'll go out with a mic and I might approach you, hey, so Congressman Davis, so so what does a congressman do, right? And that's essentially educating because more people are reached as younger people on social media to be educated than anything. Yeah. So if you want to open up the party to them, educate them via where they at.
So you think that's educating them as opposed to educating them when they go to school? I knew about government and stuff when I was in the 8th grade.
Yeah, because we're not being taught as much about government as we should in most respects. Yeah, people are catching more information from YouTube University than they are in the high school setting.
Absolutely. Like TikTok.
TikTok.
If you get on TikTok,
they're catching, but they're catching what? Are they catching
the latest trends?
That they have the power.
How to dance.
They have the power to influence decisions that get made about government.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you would be surprised. Yes, they are.
And they will learn more about on TikTok.
So they didn't vote.
But that's because nobody's there, though.
I'm saying if they learning all this,
but they're not learning. But that's why I'm saying when you said how do we get to them, I'm saying Let's go to where they are. Let's recruit. Let's be more visible on social media. Educate them. I'm saying put young people in offices. I mean, to the point where they could be the spokesperson.
There are young people being put on boards of trustees of universities. I mean, there's movement in that direction.
I agree.
But those who get involved in all, they involved in all of that.
Right.
The others who aren't, they're not.
Right.
They involved. They got trustees. I can remember pushing that young people should be trustees on the school boards and different things. And nothing keeps young people from running for office. There isn't anything that keeps young people.
No.
No, not at all.
Reach the age of running for office.
Yeah.
But people are not going to allow anarchy.
I agree.
I mean, the older people have struggled too long and too hard to try and create civil society for themselves. And so they're not going to willingly go to anarchy.
But let's be truthful. How many young people going to the Republican Party? Because I don't see no young people in that party either.
In certain places.
Maybe in the South? I don't know.
Not in, well,
I don't know.
not in Illinois.
Right. Right. You ain't gonna see it in Illinois.
I just don't see them going there like, oh, this is the best thing, you know.
But I think teaching them about government, how it operates, how it works, the structure of it, and implement it, and like do a TikTok. Do a TikTok, do a YouTube, you know, do
Get
like
on
a
Twitter.
blog.
It don't, I mean,
Yes,
I'm just
because-
saying, like, be like one of the things that
present.
you've done is, I'm sorry to cut your wisdom, but being a part of this.
Yeah.
Hey, man, come on, man. Ain't nobody seeing their congressmen on live every Sunday like this. These people could jump on and talk to you and have all, hey, congressman, what's, you know what I mean? Now we trying to bring more young people into the mix so they could learn a little bit more about you and have conversation with you. But that, as this continues to grow, that's going to come out. But this is but one platform in which you are connecting with a different audience. I'm sorry,
I guarantee you talking about building back a video game, they'll be on here. Yeah. They do a lot of video game stuff.
Yeah. Or do a forum.
Build back better video games.
A block club party. Yeah, I mean, it's so many creative ways that we can.
But all these things are going on.
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm on somebody's thing every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day.
Well, you need to come on Social Work Sunday too.
I even do my own.
Hey.
I do my own chat with the doctors
every Monday.
Every Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to do a radio show every Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
10
when
o'clock to
my friend Garfield Major was still alive. We did it for years.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't done one time. We just, after Garfield died, it wasn't quite the same.
And that was on VOE.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that go on. So many ways for, but it takes a lot of people to be engaged in things. And it takes a lot of people to try and keep things flowing and keep things moving, and to be able to evaluate things in a way where they have a good way of, I don't know why people can say, why do you be in office? Well, because I want to keep moving. I don't need a job. I've been working all my life.
You got 12 pensions coming.
No, I only got one.
Uh-oh.
Say that up.
But that was sufficient. That was very sufficient.
Yeah.
It will take care of my needs when I get to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And plus, I don't need much. Never have.
Mm-hmm.
Never have.
Yeah, I
And
remember you
so in
talking.
that respect, I give away more of what I earn than I spend on myself. That just happens to be my lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
and my approach to life.
Mm-hmm.
And but trying to help make the world a better place in which to live.
Mhm.
Try and reduce the violence that we are all experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Try to create more opportunities for disadvantaged people to experience a better life. That's why I do public
Hmm.
life. Yeah, that's what I do.
I think I think you've done that and more since you've been in office. This last one was close though. That was a hair close. That was
But
close.
people need to understand why.
Yeah.
If somebody gives you $1 million from someplace and you don't know anything about it, where it's coming from, why are they doing it? Why are they doing it?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't run into anybody who told me they knew my opponent yet.
Hmm.
And most people still don't. They don't. You don't.
Well, I mean, I do a little bit. I would say like I met her in when I ran. Actually, I met Keena when I ran, so I'm familiar with her.
Yeah.
You know, but and our work doesn't intersect so much, so because she has a different advocacy than I do, right? But I'm familiar with her. But, you
It
know,
ain't affected in Austin. It ain't affected in Lundale. It ain't affected in Garfield. It ain't wherever it affects. And the people she worked for called me the other day and said, please don't let this lady be no kind.
damn. No, that's a Sunday tea right there.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh no.
And they ignore
Jesus, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it. So, but I'm saying people
Right.
only know what they know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff. I always remember something a preacher told my sister when we were kids. We had a preacher. We grew up in the Methodist church, CME Methodist church. And we had the bishop sent us a pastor that the people didn't want, and so people treated him pretty badly. And my sister and I have been charged with the responsibility of putting on a youth program. And she and the pastor had a little argument. And she said, well, Reverend Pulliam, I didn't know that. His name was Pulliam. And he said to her, he said, Sister Chris, my darling, there's enough you don't know to make another whole world.
Man, yeah.
and
The more you learn you don't know.
That stuck with me all of my life. That whatever it is that I know, that there's so much that I don't know. And my father had a saying. He would say, the more you learn, the more you understand how little
Man.
you know.
Yeah.
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 That's true.
And it makes sense when I think of it. That if you're constantly learning, then the recognition becomes more clear that you really don't know that much
Yeah.
of what there is to know, no matter what the subject. No matter what the subject. And so teaching people to vote and why to vote and the impact of all that. Yeah, that's something.
That's the work. That's the work. I think that's where a lot of organizations, because I'm involved with the Austin Civic Engagement Organization, where we tried to, we're trying to raise voter turnout, you know, and that work gonna be crucial. These next few months are gonna be real crucial.
And important.
Yeah.
I agree, because
Man.
there were efforts to see if Illinois couldn't be turned from being what we call a blue state to a red state. And of course, the Republican guy with a lot of money was attempting to make use of an African American fellow that he put several $1 million into.
50 million.
50 million.
50 million.
To try and help him become the Republican nominee for governor. With the idea that if he was the Republican nominee, that there would be a lot of black people who would vote for him to be the governor because he was black. And there are some black people, just as there are white people, who vote for candidates for their self-interest. And there are blacks who would just vote. They would. There are some blacks who would certainly vote for a black person running for governor, although they would never say they were Republicans.
They just would have voted for the black man.
But they still would vote for
the
black man.
Black man.
And there are other people who voted against a person who would be black. Because he is a black man. So there are all kind of different people when it comes to voting for all kind of different reasons. But that was the fact that he did not win the Republican primary. I am very pleased.
Yeah, that was a very interesting race right there, because then you had I can't think of his first name, but Mr. Uline, who got behind Darren Bailey and the Democratic Association, the Governor's Democratic Association made sure that they put out the information that was necessary. So he actually got crushed by a lot, which was very interesting, because they definitely did not want to go up against him. They absolutely did not want to go up against him. So that was interesting.
It would have been
that would have been very interesting.
Had they
been very
because
interesting.
He had promised to put $300 million into the general election for this gentleman. And he won the primary. See, there are just so many nuances to all of these businesses, all of these situations. And this business of the actual concrete knowledge of them. And then there are people who don't like education. I've had a doctorate degree since 1977. A lot of people never knew I had a doctorate. I wasn't interested in it. I wasn't interested in them because they decry formal education.
Yeah, they do.
They don't like.
That's why I say it's one of the charges that we need in the community is to uplift intellectualism. Make people know that it's cool to be smart. It's okay to be educated. Whatever way you're gonna be educated, just know something. Know something.
Even mentorship, I think that's a big thing to do as far as with the community mentor. Help them along the way. Just pretty much see what you do overall, like what the entails the in and out. And I was going to ask you, Congressman Davis, what are you like mentoring someone as far as with the that comes behind you?
I've mentored a lot of people. I've mentored. You've got a bunch of elected officials in our community. Camille Lilly is an outstanding state representative. Has a master's degree in public health. Is an expert in health stuff. LaShawn Ford stands up when many other people don't
Yep.
say anything about the issues that they want to pursue or need pursuing. Jason Irwin's wife has a master's degree in accounting and finance and health. Melissa Irwin, who is the state treasurer, uh, does a great job as treasurer, but did a great job when she was in the state legislature. Jason Irwin is an accountant, CPA, uh, has been involved for a number of years, used to be the village manager in Maywood, chairman of the Black Caucus in the city council, one of the most influential Black members of the city council, even Michael Scott, who just resigned as alderman. All of these individuals, Walter Barnett and his son, Omar, all of them, they're all individuals who could step in and be, as well as others, State Senator Matt Hunt, who lived on the south side of the city, but her district comes all the way over to the west side. Uh, the alderman of the 16th Ward, Stephanie Coleman, that's in the 7th district. Mayor of Forest Park, Laura Hoskins, an outstanding young fellow. He's an attorney. His son is flying airplanes. His daughter's getting a master's degree. There's a whole, all of these individuals. Like a lot of people telling me, oh, I didn't know Congressman Bennett Thompson. I said, yeah, well, Bennett is one of my best friends in Congress. When he got the opportunity to show his professionalism, to show his institutional knowledge, his political astuteness, and the solidification of his being with the Toulouse College in Mississippi, bachelor, master's. He used to work at the Jackson Health Center maybe years ago when we were starting health centers. There is so much talent and so much knowledge around, and people who think pretty much in very similar ways, that one of these individuals that I just mentioned, like the next congressman from the South. It won't be the young lady that
Come on, man. Come on, Joe. Yo.
Yes, sir.
Come on, man.
Because
got haymakers tonight, man. Got haymakers.
Yeah.
I mean, a community of interest. There is also a community of unification, and there is a community of people who've been doing the same things and understand the thinking of the community. We had 100 and some preachers on our ministers for Davis. 100 and some ministers for Davis. And more than that, if we could just have the time to organize. And as I looked at the group at a banquet we had the other day, it was hard for me to see one whose church I've not been to at some point for some purpose. And so this business of engagement and involvement is very important when it comes to representing people, because you're taking over.
Yeah.
I'm going to represent you. But to represent you, I got to interact with you.
Yeah.
So I know what you're thinking. I got to know what you want.
Yeah.
If I don't know,
Right.
then I can't know whether or not I'm doing it. Yeah. So.
Yeah. That was a great question. So, hey, listen, I let this drag on. No, I did. No, only. I mean, it's a holiday though. I mean, ain't nobody doing nothing tomorrow. But so I kind of was just letting the conversation go.
Right.
Uh,
I'm working though. I'm working.
Oh, you gotta work?
I'm working.
Oh,
tomorrow.
snaps.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
working tomorrow, so I can be off on Thursday. So.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
listen. Like, when we get ready to wrap up the show, we always go around the room, get final thoughts from everybody, and we start with the Zoom. So
Go ahead, Barry. I know you waiting. Everybody else done dropped off. They sending bye-byes.
Really? Okay.
Barry, you there?
I'm here. Hey guys.
Go ahead. In conclusion.
In conclusion, man. Well, I'm thinking about what Tamika said about. She's saying something. Oh, essentially, what I heard her say was that both sides lie, and it's really dismaying to me because I've listened to, the lies are so blatant. They're like Nazis, big lies, and also, DeAndre, what you were saying about go to where the young people are, which is on the social media, and I sure see your point. And the social media is controlled by the billionaires. So it's like, it's like having it's like having a foreign power control the communications. And it's it's a really difficult problem. And I agree with, it also seems to me that whatever happens in the coming elections, this election is 4 months off, and the one 2 years and 4 months off, young people are going to experience the consequences of that much longer than I will. So those are some of the thoughts I'm left with after this conversation.
thanks, Barry. Who else? Anybody else on there?
No, that's it.
Oh, that was just
Everybody else
okay.
stop building out.
Come on, man. Y'all can't hang tight. What you got to say, Congressman?
Well, I think what I'm going to say is that we need to really focus in on people voting, and we spend a lot of time trying to help them understand why they ought to vote. And we can do that without trying to tell them who to vote for or any of that. I remember when I say without trying to tell them who to vote for or force them into voting for any party or any group. I remember the story about Jesus training his disciples. And he basically said, when you go into somebody's house and you tell them what it is that you're trying to convey, and you don't want to spend time arguing with them and with them telling you all the reasons they're not going to do it. At some point, you make a decision to let the doorknob hit you where the good Lord split you. And you stop wasting your time.
That's a fact, though.
Go on to the next house.
Yeah.
And knock on the next door.
Yeah.
And see how receptive those people are.
Yeah.
Well, that's when I used to try and train precinct workers and all. That's what I would tell them. Don't spend an hour. Trying to come, man, listen. Argue and convince. Because if the person has not learned enough to know the basic reason you're trying to convince them to vote, go on to the next step. And
Thank you, Congressman. That was wonderful wisdom. It gives me some comfort to leave this conversation.
Yeah. All right. Everybody have a wonderful 4th of July.
Steve, you got something?
Oh yeah. Again, have a great 4th of July. For those that are still listening, they're still on here. We went extremely long, almost an hour over today. And I want to thank everybody that came out.
Yes.
Appreciate your time.
Yes. Oh no, I just want to say thank you for the invite to, for my platform, all that good stuff. Social Work Sunday Tea. We're on the move. One podcast at a time, talking about mental health. And one, as far as with the tea, herbal tea collection for the mental and the physical. And also for Dale Plum fundraiser on September 24th. Hope to see everybody there and inbox me and all that good stuff. So get more information.
All right. And so for me, listen, we do this every Sunday from 6 to 8 p.m. Just went a little longer today because of the holiday. I mean, why not? I mean, some people got to work, though. I don't. So sorry, y'all. But beyond that, you know what I mean? You can find us on various social media channels. We got the Facebook, the YouTube, and the Zoom. If you're on the YouTube or the Facebook, make sure you like, make sure you comment, because we can see it directly in the show. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you share, right? Let people know what we're talking about, because this is West Side people talking West Side things. Listen, man, take some time for self. We opened up talking about mental health a lot. And listen, if things change in November to such a degree that it causes all of us anxiety and some sort of angst, we gonna get you some tea. Get your tea ready.
Yes.
At minimum, go get that chill. You feel me? Because we all gonna be dealing with it. We're gonna be dealing with a lot of stressors, right? And so your mental health matters more than you'd ever know. Everything starts in the mind. So get the help that you need. Seek your therapist out. You know what I mean? And talk to whoever you need to talk to. And also make sure you're talking to them about voting, because it matters.
Yes,
it really does matter. So that being said, listen, we always got open seats at the table. We just trying to welcome y'all home. Thank y'all for allowing us to welcome you to Northwest Austin Council. Y'all have a good night.
Good night, all.